Hello, I'm Paula Bolton, co-founder of Lesbian Labour. Welcome to our Proud Lesbian series. During Pride Month, I'll be interviewing a wide range of lesbians to gather lesbian perspectives and to hear about lesbian lives in 2022. And with me for the sixth interview is Carey, aka Fuzzy Bear. So hi there, thank you for agreeing to share your perspectives. I wonder, would you mind starting with just talking a little bit about your lesbian life to get us started?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I'm one of those lesbians that knew I was a lesbian from year dot, and when puberty happened, and it just kind of like, yeah, okay. So I've always been like a lesbian, and I was just so lucky because I came out at a time when lesbians were everywhere. We were, in the 90s, we were everywhere. And, the real ones, not the ones with penises. And I feel that I'm here now because I'm just so frustrated that women don't get the experience that I got when I was, when I was a kid. Well, not kid, sorry, when I was a young woman. And I think that's why I'm doing this, basically.
Yeah. So you came out during the 90s. Was that post Section 28? Had that gone by then when you came out?
Oh God, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I must admit, I didn't look that up. But it was almost irrelevant.
Yeah.
Whether or not it had gone or not, it was pretty irrelevant. We were all, we were all out and being very happy about it.
Yeah, properly out and proud, doing your own thing.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes. Did you ever have any hostility in your family towards your sexual orientation?
My family, no, absolutely not. My mum, I come from a slightly, I mean, I am middle class. I'm not gonna debate that. But my mum was a bit of a hippie, and my father was probably the loveliest man in the world. So I had absolutely no problems coming out, apart from other people. Yeah, no. I didn't have any issues kind of close to me. Very supportive.
And was it after school or college that you came out, or during, how was the educational institution around you at the time?
Well, I had as I say, I always knew I was a lesbian, but I had a bit of a Jack Kerouac moment where I did sleep with a few men just to see what was out there.
What was about, yeah.
And then thought, yeah, no, I'm a lesbian. I think the only issue which I think really ties in with what's going on today is you feel lonely. And young girls today that are in LGBT groups that feel lonely are being chucked out of them because they don't want to sleep with men. And I think that's, I can really see that as an issue. It's just, yeah, it's just like, so yeah, I really feel, and that's why I got involved with Lesbian Strength. I think it's just to reach out to lesbians. So
yeah. Did you have a different world around you then, like a different community? Was there such a thing as lesbian space in your earlier years?
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit, but not quite the same. So a friend of a friend came out as a lesbian, and yeah, so we did do things, but I basically mainly hang around with men, because there was a friend of mine was gay, and he went to gay places. And yeah, I used to go out with him. So I know loads of gay men because I used to go out with gay men because I was so shy of women.
Yeah.
That I used to go out with gay men. I'm still shy of women, I have to say.
Right. So, I mean, that's one of the things that's come up in other interviews, that even where there were lesbian spaces, they were very often housed within the gay community. So there might be a separate room where lesbian things were happening, but the predominance on the scene was a gay male scene. Would that be?
No, I have to admit, no. I think when I came out in the late 90s, there was like, it was lesbian wall to wall. You go to Vixen's at Friday, you could do what you wanted. I mean, yeah, no, when I came out, it was just lesbians.
Okay, so are we in London?
I'm in London. Yeah.
Okay, so all right. Okay, so this is where your experience departs from the rest of the non-London-based lesbians. So come on, make us all jealous. So you mentioned Vixen's one night, la la la. So there were lesbian bars, were there?
Oh yeah, there were lesbian bars. There were lesbian nights. There was if you wanted to, you could. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so there was plenty going on the scene.
Yeah.
Multiple venues.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you got any sense if that is any different now?
Oh God, it's completely different. It's absolutely different now. I'm devastated that young girls can't just have fun. It's awful. I mean, it's completely different. I went to live. I lived in Australia for 4 years. I came back, and like the world just went, it just I don't know. It just went mental.
So it feels very different for you now in your.
I don't recognise it. I don't recognise it.
Yeah.
I mean, I still go out. I am a member, I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm a member of a lesbian group. And the definition of a lesbian is like anyone, basically. I go out to Butch Please at Vixen's, and there's just like loads of guys there. Everything's just changed. It's just changed.
What would you put that down to?
I think for me, I mean, obviously it's the narrative, but we're not helping.
So what is the narrative for somebody that was listening to this who doesn't know the narrative? What would you say the narrative is at the moment?
Okay, the narrative is be kind, be fair. These men are just going through the transition at your expense.
Okay, so the narrative around what constitutes a woman and therefore what constitutes a lesbian is what we're talking about here, isn't it?
Yeah. Totally. It's like, well, I mean, a woman is an exclusively same-sex attracted lesbian as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And
a lesbian is a exclusively same-sex attracted woman.
Yeah.
I think that
that's kind of like that's in law.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're trying to change the narrative is just disingenuous, basically.
And who would you say they are? Because this is one of the other repeated things. Some folk have put it down to lobby groups, others, Stonewall comes up as an answer there quite often.
Oh God, I mean, when the head of Stonewall calls me a racist, I mean, like, hi, I'm a racist.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. I don't think of this as a trans issue as such, as a movement against something, you know, people don't realize I actually know quite a lot of trans people. We don't, you know, they don't want this. It's just like kind of middle class white 20-somethings that just want to have a go. That want this. So, you know, that's why I think we're all very skeptical about the ethics around this issue.
Yeah, I suppose as demonstrated in Bristol, actually, yesterday, there was you know, when you look at what might be behind those masks, it makes you wonder where this
totally, yeah,
activism is coming from. So yeah, in your working life then, Carey, did you have any homophobia going on in your working life? What has your working life included?
That's an interesting one. Not homophobia, no. I've been a civil servant all my life, but I worked at the Ministry of Justice, and I worked for a minister that was in charge of women's prisons.
Gosh, well, that's an in if ever there was one.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. I can't really do any more than that. But right. Yeah, that was an incredibly difficult period of my life. So yeah.
So in terms of the change in the civil service and what some of us have termed capture of the arms of the state, one after the other, by this ideology, was any of that happening already while you were in?
Oh God, it was in place, but it wasn't. You know, it's inertia. They really didn't know or give a crap. They just didn't care. It just wasn't. They weren't bothered as long as it pleased the way that things were going. I think that for me, the thing that really got me was so Liz Truss said we're going to protect single-sex spaces, and then just forgot she said that. But yeah, before they don't care. They don't care about this yet. Sorry.
Right. So how is that exemplified then? If they don't care about it, they get diktats from wherever, and then.
Oh yeah, I mean, I saw FOI requests for fair play for women that then had been redacted, and they just looked like they'd been written by Stonewall.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So I mean, it is what we all think it is. Really, is what is going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the other things I just wanted to go a little bit back to when we were talking about the glorious Vixen days, and
yeah,
there was a period which I think a lot of us were very clear about. You know, we get to up to 2015, we've got gay marriage in place. You know, the equal age of consent, all of those things that were the core issues that Stonewall used to be fighting for, the basic rights for lesbians and gay men were in place. So then we have this lesbian marriage phenomenon. Talk to me about that, your thoughts around that.
I'm sorry, the lesbian
marriage.
Gay marriage.
Yes. Well, I mean, obviously gay marriage, but because we're lesbians, I'm
okay. Yeah. No, that's it. Well, yeah. I mean, again, this is. I mean, you know, I'm a big fan of Baroness Nicholson. They really go for her. Stonewall were anti-gay marriage. You know, what you know, what they trying to reinvent. You know, they were anti-heteronormativity and all of that kind of stuff.
Were many of your friends the lesbian and gay folk that took that as an opportunity and actually did marry, you know, are you part of a world that went for the assimilation model? Oh, sorry, I just saw what you were doing there. Hello, married lesbian. Okay, the right person to be talking to then.
Yeah, and
I haven't interviewed a married lesbian yet, so that felt like something worth doing, clearly.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It feels more committed. And yeah, I think that, so when I was living in Australia, the PM was anti-marriage, even though she was like, you know, like kind of liberal, and nobody could tell me why. And it's something to do with anti-marriage. And as I said, you know, and as Baroness Nicholson says, Stonewall's anti-marriage for years. And, you know, they're not called homophobic. Well, I do now. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's all different now, but yeah, there is a political issue behind this that a bit is being used, and I vehemently disagree with.
Yes, well, so that's the you know, we're back to the same issue, aren't we? I'm kind of reverting a little bit back here to generally whether we've had a kind of golden era for lesbian life and culture. You know, in your time, have you seen there be an increase in the representation on TV, for instance, or books, films? Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with this. I really don't know where to go with this. Lesbians, we just don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's about trans. We don't, you know, I'm not, I think we need to do a kind of like, you know, a kind of, no, I there's so much that I could say about that, but yeah, no, we don't exist anymore. We're not important anymore.
So lesbian erasure is a real thing to you? Yeah.
For me, totally, yeah, no, I mean, I go to Butch Please, and, you know, half the people are men. I go to my group, my lesbian group. The definition of lesbian is basically involves everybody. No, I don't exist anymore.
So the back do you think there's a date when you noticed that changing? Was this post Australia for you, whenever that was?
No, I think it only came back, I mean, I think it was happening before then. But
what year would you say?
So I came back from Australia in 2016.
Okay.
And I think from there I was just like, what's
going on? Yeah, that makes sense, because that's when it was beginning to be much more evident that something had changed. But before that, so I mean, you had 4 years in Australia. Well, surely things were better in Australia, were they not?
Okay. Well, this is what because when I was in Australia, I was just somewhere else.
Yeah.
I met some feminists in Australia that were trying to tell me something.
And you couldn't.
And I just didn't get it. They were trying to tell me.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, Australian people.
Well, no, but you know, I mean, I spent some time in Australia in the 90s, and there were, one of the things I remember about the way lesbians organised in the olden days was there was a lesbian network magazine, and it didn't matter where you went to, you could look in the magazine and find some lesbians, and immediately you'd be introduced to where the places were to hang out.
The lesbian scene in Australia is awful. In Sydney, anyway.
All right.
So, sorry,
Country.
lesbians, Australia, but you're awful.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because for me in '91, it was actually life-saving to have that network.
There you go. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's really interesting to know.
Yeah, that was Melbourne. So again, different places, you know. But yeah, I mean, I had a crazy thing where I'd gone with my partner, and her mum was dying of cancer, and we'd been to you know, we'd gone through the death and all the rest of it, and I think as part of the grieving, the family all went nuts, particularly her murderous brother, and we literally had to escape.
God, I'm really honestly, sorry to hear this.
We ended up in Melbourne and looked in the Lesbian Network magazine, and then by some totally quirky 1,000,000 to 1 chance ended up visiting this bunch of women, and it turns out one of them had been at school with me. I mean, it made no sense whatsoever. But
you have never. So I met a woman, and it turned out she used to work in the hospital that my ex mothers worked in Bury.
Oh,
so
well, there you go. Yeah,
it all adds up.
I mean, it's good to hear that for you, Australia wasn't particularly the lesbian mecca, because I've always held it in my mind that it was, and I know some circus.
It kind of was. I lived off Oxford Street. It was just like, you know, I lived in a house. I lived in a flat with just like loads of gay men and their pooches.
Okay, well, there you go. You obviously weren't networked into the crazy lesbian world there, were you?
I am here, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well,
no, fortunately. Sorry, fortunately.
So, you know, the marriage scene. I only, to my absolute disgrace, you know, the fact that I don't know this, and I call myself an activist, I bought the lie that we have equal marriage because everybody said it. I've never been interested in marriage. And I was watching something the other night, trying to think about this representation thing. And I looked at how Gentleman Jack affected me. And on that, there were 2 Christian lesbians who couldn't be married in their church. And I had missed that. How can I have missed that? That actually you can civil marriage, the state can marry you, but the church still doesn't accept it. The church.
Well, I mean, it's not even that.
Okay, what is it?
So when you have a civil partnership and get divorced, it's more difficult to get divorced and more expensive than getting divorced. So it's not just about marriage. Just wanted to put that one in there.
So that's interesting. So the dissolution of a civil partnership is more complex and costly than the divorce from a marriage.
Yeah.
Okay. So some folk may have got married in order that when it ends, they get out of it more easily. Would that ever be a reason for people to marry?
No, it's really difficult.
But it is an interesting. It is an interesting.
No, it is totally, and because they haven't really properly kind of got the legality of it right, it's actually much more difficult. I've just spent 1,500 quid trying to annul my divorce. So yeah, no, it's not.
It's not been sorted properly.
No, absolutely not.
Still work to be done on that score.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, there's a focus for some activism. So coming to politics and activism, I mean, obviously, I know you through Lesbian Strength, and glad to have you on board as we try to yet again get another.
Sorry, my mum's been a bit unwell, otherwise I would be a bit more active.
Well, you know, their personal situations need to take precedence, but so I know you in that regard. But you know, what are your thoughts in terms of party politics at the moment? I mean, I'm sitting here from Lesbian Labour. Have you got any thoughts about the different political parties and how they are approaching the issue of, you know, our survival as lesbians? Oh dear.
Okay, so you know, I've been Labour Party all my life. I'm a Labour Party member, just about still. But as I said to you earlier, I've spoilt my paper because I can't vote for somebody that doesn't recognise what a woman is. I suppose somebody would say I was a socialist. A bit like you know, it's a bit like saying I'm not a radical feminist. I call myself feminist. I'm not a radical feminist because there are some tropes that I really don't buy into, and that's why I don't call myself you know, a socialist. Yeah, I have real problems. I have, and I think, as most women do, have real problems about what to vote for. I mean, you know, my mum was a feminist. She said to me, "You've got to vote because we fought for you to vote," and I totally agree with that. But what do you vote for?
Mm. So you're not convinced that Labour are doing the right thing with regards single sex spaces?
They're kind of getting there, and I think they might get there, but if they don't, then
yeah, you can't vote for somebody that doesn't know what a woman is. Yeah. What about the issue of the ever expanding alphabet? Because obviously we've gone, I think probably both of you in our lifetimes, we've gone from it being, was it already LGB when you came out, or had the B not joined yet?
No. And they didn't ask us. They didn't. We weren't involved in any discussion. It was just added.
Yeah.
And all of the other numbers. Sorry.
Letters.
Letters. No. And what other letters are going to be added? Just asking for a friend.
And the fact that you weren't ever asked, none of us were we? Have you got any idea how that process happens? Because no one I've asked so far knows who the letter police are.
No, I mean, it's so weird because when I was younger, I was actually asked to do a presentation for Stonewall. You know, I was kind of like, you know, looking a bit grey, but, you know, as a Black lesbian, they wanted me on board. You know, they never asked any of us what was going on or what was happening. Yeah, I think we all feel, I think there's a lot of people that feel more disappointed about what's going on than they're making out. That, you know, they're kind of going with it, but I think
yeah. So again, the issue of the forced teaming of sexual orientation on the one hand and all of these different identities was not consulted upon.
No, well, of course it. Yeah, but of course it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, of course it wasn't, because we wouldn't have agreed.
Yeah,
of course not.
So we've ended up with this crazy thing where, as lesbians with a separate protected characteristic, we ought to be able to have autonomous organising.
Oh yeah, no. Well, you know, sorry, I'm a racist. So because because I'm a lesbian and I don't sleep with men. I don't really know where else you can go with this kind of bizarre ridiculousness.
And you said you hang out with gay men. Do you still do that? And are they?
Oh, yeah.
Are they beginning to talk about how it's affecting them?
Yeah, I mean, the ones that I talk to, I think the ones that don't really understand are probably a little bit on the younger scale. But yeah, no, I mean, I can't. There are some people that I know that in the arts that do say things that I can, say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's getting out there. It's getting out.
Yeah, because obviously the inverse is happening for gay men. And I know I was glad to hear the Gay Men's Network beginning to form and get going around January time.
Yeah,
because they're having to. In a way, there's a separate argument, which is what something like the LGBT Alliance is doing, making the argument that this entire thing is homophobic and against same-sex attraction, full stop. We're busy doing the lesbian bit of that, but I think there is some coalition work to be done for those that are happy to work in coalition.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think totally. Yeah, I mean, they're just. I think the onslaught is slightly different because we're women. It makes it much more difficult to handle. But yeah, no, there is. There's a lot of gay men that I know that just think this is just like bollocks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it for women. We've got a double whammy because we're women and we're lesbians, so it's always going to be a bit more difficult.
Yeah, because we do end up with the misogyny also from sadly from gay men as well. When it boils down to it, that's often another of the issues to deal with, isn't it? Which actually brings me round to what on earth is going on with Pride?
Okay, I'm gonna have to take my glasses off again.
When we look back at this, Carey, 3/4 of it will have been you going, "Oh my God!" So they're a very good visual representation for how you're feeling. Yes.
Okay, go with it.
So Pride, the wonderful celebration of what it means to be lesbian, gay, or bisexual, as it used to be a political protest in the olden days, and shortly after that, a Mardi Gras and a bit of a celebration. Would you feel comfortable going on a march?
No.
So what do you think's changed there?
I've been to Pride since I've been a juvenile that played pools in pubs. I can't stand. I can't even look at the flag. I can't stand for what it stands. I can't do it, and it's such a shame. But it's just like bonkers what's happened and how it's been triggered into something completely different. But no, I can't do that. That's just like nonsense, absolutely nonsense. Sorry.
No, no need to apologize.
That's my rant.
This is to get different perspectives and listen to them. So it's important to hear that for you, Pride as its current version is absolute nonsense. Not a space you'd feel comfortable. Was there a time when you did?
Oh, absolutely. I was on a
lorry. A float.
A float, that's it. I was on a float. Yeah, no, I was up there. I was doing it, baby. I was seriously doing it, baby.
Go. Were you ever on one of the marches where there were dykes on bikes as well?
Yeah. I'm not saying any more than that.
Well, there you go. I was speaking to a lesbian in New York last night, and she was the woman that got the first lot onto the march.
Okay.
She was reminding me of the power of that engine at the front, you know, the terrific imagery around that. I mean, if I was a young lesbian and I saw that, I'd want to be one of them.
Okay, so if you've got enough time,
yes.
I got caught in a lockdown in New York, and we were in a lesbian bar for a lockdown, and we couldn't leave. They bought us pizza, and it was just like, I've never been somewhere where I really loved women so much. It happens.
So I'm assuming that we're not talking a COVID lockdown there.
No. This was there was a storm warning, probably about 2016, something like that. But they locked down quite easily, and it was
wonderful. I can see by
it was a very special lockdown.
Well, there you go. Let's bring back more of them. Yes, I would say.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Well, this is it. This is our job to make it happen, because no matter what we would say, you know, we've been erased, but actually we've not gone anywhere. So we're all still here. So what are you going to do then? You know, we're not gone.
Absolutely. And you can rename us, but we're still here.
And what
you can try and rename us, but we're still here.
Yeah. Call is something else. What if you want to nick the word lesbian for the anything at all to be?
Yeah.
What are we then? Ex-lesbians? You know that it. The erasure is so
alternative lesbian. No, it's like what the I mean,
dinosaur
it's just like
lesbians.
It's becoming absurd. I'm actually starting to laugh now because it's becoming absurd that young boys are trying to get women to sleep with them. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, but then also it has to be said, it was ever thus, wasn't it? You know, before all of this nonsense, one of the most reported versions of lesbophobia was blokes saying, you just haven't tried me yet, you know, all you need is a shag, whatever.
Well, look, I think
so it's the same in a different guise. Correct rape, you know.
We've just let we've just let off the pedal.
Stop paying attention for 5 minutes and look what's happened.
Yeah.
So are we blaming ourselves for not being?
No, absolutely. No, how can you blame yourself for something that is being done to you?
Yeah.
No, of course not. I'm just saying that we need to be more aware of the fact that it's so easy for them to blame us.
Yes, I think that's the thing, that it is easy to say, well, you know, it's you lot with your politically correct language. Look where it's got you, you know.
Yeah.
That's
God, yeah. Where are the feminists? Where are the feminists? Yeah, like we've not been shouting at you for years, you morons. Yeah.
So what I would like from you then is obviously vetting as you go, one of your favorite anecdotes as a proud lesbian of a moment in your lesbian life that was the sort of story you would want a young lesbian to hear about, so that she goes, I want to be one of those.
Okay, I mean, I think that's really easy. I could have had gender dysphoria if I was here now. But the first time a woman kissed me, bloody hell, I was gone. That was it. I knew what I was. That's it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It sounds like the Carey version of the Anne Lister quote, "I love and only love the fairer sex." You know, that's something that she knew, that you know, and that let's hope that there are young lesbians out there who find out who they are and stick with it. Because
hopefully, because it's actually quite nice.
Quite nice, she says.
I'll stop there.
With that wink. Quite nice. Absolutely. Was there anything else you wanted to share before we finish?
No. Thank you for asking me. I'm happy to just chat. I have no.
Well, that's great, because we've covered all the bases of all the different things I wanted to ask you about. So thank you very much, Carey, and here's to some lesbian strength.